We've been waiting for months for this moment. We've called it in the past, it's happening now, and it means something else is about to happen. We've got that plus more on the other project that appears to be about ready to get underway. Avengers, news from Jungle Cruise, and more. So let's get started, let's get out to Catella Avenue and look at some trees. While on my way down Catella Avenue heading towards Disneyland Drive, I noticed some crews out there. They're working on trees out here. We saw some, markings on the pavement there before last week, and we see this week. What a coincidence that there's a tree trimming service, Bright View, tree care service right here on Catella Avenue, doing some work on the palm trees lining Catella Avenue, creating that barrier between Catella Avenue and the backstage of DCA. Now, again, this is not the Incredible Coaster space. This is behind Radiator Springs Racers. Meanwhile, that's tree trimming, not tree removal. So I don't feel like that's connected, but I mean, we're looking out. That's why we're walking the street. It's just a kind of an interesting coincidence that they happen to be here, but I don't think that's the right group. I don't think that's the right tree service that we should be finding here, but we're gonna keep looking. We're heading our way down to the corner of Disneyland Drive and Catella. Yeah, definitely a different operation. See that? Now those trees are spray painted orange. I'm guessing they're dead. That's probably what that is that they're gonna remove those because they're dead. Or in this case, that one's not dead, but it looks like it's leaning a little too far out into the path perhaps. It's not growing straight up, it's growing to the left. These are just speculations, a layman's guess at what's happening there. Let's go. Yeah, there you go. They're just trimming. They're just cleaning things up, making things a little less cluttered here, I guess. Usual, routine maintenance. Okay, we've reached the corner, and the corner is where all those portable buildings are. As a matter of fact, this is a view that I don't think we saw this before. I don't remember seeing through that gap. You see, that's Backstage. That's the service road that we've been talking about. And right through that building right there on the other side of the fence, the second fence, not this fence, but the second fence, that's one of the portables that are subject to being moved. And so I can't tell if that action is, related or not, but that's where we are, at least setting the stage here, where things are going to be happening, and then all of this space out here is going to be subject to removal as well. We have an update on this tree situation, by the way. We talked about this last week. Last week we noted those green flag trees right here, right? And then the red ones in the back. I had assumed that green meant they're staying and red meant they were going. That is not the case. Green means preserve. They're gonna be removed, but preserve them for some other use perhaps. So last week, our observation, we believed that was that the green trees were gonna stay and the red ribbon trees were going to be removed, which was kind of confusing to me because the way that they're set up, they're right next to each other. It didn't make any sense to keep one and not the other. Then we were advised in comments that it was kind of the opposite, that green meant they were going to remove them, but they were going to preserve them. They're going to try to sell them or use them somewhere else. And that the red ones were going to be kept, that those weren't going to be changed at all. And then meanwhile, all these trees that had no tags at all, those were going to be definitely removed. So anything without a tag is definitely getting removed. That was the way it was explained to me by somebody in comments. That seemed pretty reasonable, but again, it doesn't answer why some trees are gone right next to each other. Some are green, some are red. And then later on, we're going to see where there's all red, where it looks like they should be going. So neither one of those really satisfy what's happening to my eye here on this scene. It doesn't seem, or it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm now thinking, it just seems more logical that every tree is going to be removed in some capacity or another. Every tree will be removed. So there's some other observation to be made. I was commenting on these paint markings on here, and people were telling me or suggesting to me that doesn't mean they're going to dig here, that's something that's going to happen. I assure you, I did not think that they were going to dig there. I was just noting them. That means something. The fact that they're putting the markings down is part of the process, and that means the process has begun. That's I don't think they're going to build anything there. They're saying, hey, look out. That's where stuff is. be aware, be mindful. And these are those trees that I was talking about before. All these trees out here on the edge of Disneyland Drive, those are all red flagged. Everything in this whole section right here, all of that is red flagged. I would have bet my life that they're going to remove this section, right? I would have bet everything that I had that this was subject to destruction. So that's what makes me inclined that everything is going to be removed. And then I found this comment, which might have solved everything. He agrees that all trees are going to be removed. The red is just to indicate that those trees are near an electrical, and the green ribbon trees are those that are near water or sewer. But that all trees, so just be careful, be mindful of those trees in that area when you're doing your removal, that you're mindful that there is electrical and or water and sewer around those particular trees. That makes infinitely more sense, and I am back to believing that everything that we're seeing on this stretch on Disneyland Drive is subject to removal, and they are going to sort of bring out the perimeter and create there's still going to be a walkway, a path, but bring that out right up to Disneyland Drive. Now, again, let me qualify that statement. This is just a layman's opinion, just a layman's observation. I don't know anything. I am just trying to make my best guesses as possible. Anything is still possible. It still could be. It doesn't make any sense if the idea is to grow the backstage area, which we assume is what they're doing here. I can't think of any other reason why they'd be going through this. If the idea is to make more space for Coco, then you take everything, right? You take it all. Why keep that tree? I think we found some new paint, by the way. That row plus row. I don't know. It's pink. I don't know what color that pink is supposed to be. I found a couple of those. I don't think those were there before. Not last week. There's another one, row plus. And then I think this is new right outside the gate. We're going to talk about that gate again in a minute. There's no MC. That's electrical. There's another row. I don't know what that means. We're going to talk about that gate right after we're done going on the Pixar Pal Around. There is that portable building that we were talking about. We were seeing through the trees, and I was saying that's the one I was talking about right there, and those trees on the other side. All of that is going to be removed. We're going to talk about this for weeks on end while it happens. Meanwhile, though, the actual site, the backstage area, I don't see much activity back here. There has been that crate is still there. I have been told, though, somebody said in comments, and I could take this with a grain of salt, obviously, because not everything that is said in comments is gospel, but that they are underway packing up. They are this backstage area is underway in getting things packed up to be moved and or destroyed. I'm not sure which is the case or which buildings. My belief is that the rear two are going to be moved, and it's the front one in this picture that is going to be demoed, as are all those trees back there. The palm trees are going to stay over there parallel to Disneyland Drive. It's the other trees, the green and orange ones, are the ones to be removed. Let's turn around and look at Avengers Infinity Defense, which is moving right along. It looks like they've picked up the pace a little bit. There's still some more truss system on the ground there. This has just been, all the focus, it seems like, has been getting this particular phase of the building finished, getting this done. It's been now, we're going on 3 weeks now for this stage. You can see some guys back there working on the top. The crane has been in heavy use. That was being used when we checked out from the hotel. We'll see that in a little bit. But nothing else has been happening on site except for what's going on there. Take a look at Cozy Cones back there. It looks like they are building. If you zoom in, yeah, look at that. There is it looks like they've actually started to construct the actual restroom building there. That is, that they're actually building there. I don't know what you call that, wood. I keep wanting to call it like particle board, but it's not, obviously. What is the term for that kind of wood? I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank, but there's actually definite action. You can see some construction workers down there, down below as well. We'll turn back around on our second lap on Pixar Pal Around to see if we can see anything on the Paradise Pier side, or Paradise Garden Grill side, I should say, Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta and all that. But no action there. Panning around and about. Coming back down. What I want to see if there's anything on that service road. There's another portable building there on that service road. Can you lean over there, Dave? There we go. Yeah, get in there. That's an area we're going to be paying attention to as well, where that portable is in that service road. That's the access into this space. That's the access where I believe they're going to build some kind of bridge. Turn back around again, looking at Avengers Infinity Defense. I want to get a closer look at the ground, but I don't see any action down there. Those buildings that are basically inside the show building right now, those are still there, but those are temporary. They'll be removed, and you'll have show building there eventually. Now, I mentioned the gate. Theme Park IQ, which is a great follow on Twitter, by the way. Follow Theme Park IQ. He said there was a permit filed to replace the perimeter fence and install a new gate as part of the new Coco attraction. Now, that was his comment. The actual permit entry, according to the website, says replace perimeter fence with new 727-foot by 16-foot high fence and a 21-foot by 16-foot high gate with electrical. It could be this gate, the Pixar Pier gate. It could be that gate. But I'm inclined to think that it's not this gate. It could be the one that we've been watching on Disneyland Drive, because they mentioned specifically Disneyland Drive. Would you say that Pixar Pier gate is in DCA, or is that on Disneyland Drive? I mean, you could make the argument either way. They say Disneyland is on 1313 Harbor Boulevard, right? So, but I'm inclined to think that they're going to replace the perimeter fence with a new fence, a higher one, a bigger one, a more obscured one, to prevent people like me from... They're going to fresh bake that fence out there, I think, so that we can't see what's going on backstage. Because that fence, obviously, first of all, is completely transparent. It's just a chain link fence, and you could easily see what's going on back there. Now they could put up a scrim on top of that, but is that high enough? Can you see over it? Is there some way that you can see over it? Perhaps from the Pixar Place Hotel, but then I don't think the big fence would do anything. Oh my gosh, am I going to have to go find the Pixar Place Hotel or see if I can't get a view from there? In any case, I'm inclined to think that they're going to replace the fence out there on Disneyland Drive proper. But that, in either case, a very clear signal, and we're all about signals here. That's what's happening right now in various parts around the park, and in this report are about signals and what is to come. We're not in a kind of construction phase as of yet, but we're looking at signals, and that permit is a very clear signal. Speaking of signals, let's go to downtown Disney, where Earl of Sandwich is on its way to being demoed. They've taken out the tables, so that's an inch forward, but everything still looks about the same as it was. Nothing is happening here, no demo on the exterior. But when I was there, noticing that when we talk about signals, this is what we've been waiting for. I've said multiple times in the past, we'll see those ticket booths demoed. Well, we won't see it until they remove those stanchions. As long as those stanchions are there, nothing is going to happen. The stanchions are gone. The stanchions are gone in front of these. These are the two that are subject to removal for building Portos. So now that those stanchions are gone, that means they're on to the next stage of Portos development, which means the destruction of the ticket booths, and then it's going to be the destruction of Earl of Sandwich, and then all that space where we're standing for getting these shots of the ticket booths and looking back in the other direction towards Earl's is future Portos, which means that that's a clear signal, not only that the ticket booths are going to be demoed, but that Portos is good to go. I've been worried about Portos. This thing we've been talking about this for years, guys, and we haven't even gotten so far as demo. We just closed Earl's, and they've been talking about this for years. So this is a signal that the Portos project is moving forward, that it's now officially underway, I think. Well, I guess on the topic of signs, that is one. That's a very clear signal that they're about ready to do something here at the ticket booths in preparation for demoing and then building Portos. Demo Earl's, build Portos. Let's take a quick break, you guys, to remind you of our favorite people in the whole wide world. That is GetAwayToday. They are our preferred travel affiliate. We make all of our travel arrangements with GetAwayToday, and we would like you to do the same because they are so amazing. They're kind, helpful, knowledgeable. They're the best. We love Getaway Today. If you're planning to make a trip, if you're planning to buy tickets even, just to the park to buy tickets, you can get that special offer, that California offer. You can get that through Getaway Today. They'll plan your hotels. They'll plan everything for you. Contact Getaway Today. Let them know we sent you, and I hope you guys have a great trip. Link in the description. Thanks, guys. More signals out on Harbor Boulevard. We're back at the Tropicana. I just want to see if there's any update. We found that green paint in the sewer here. I don't pick it up here, but when we move up the grass a little bit, you'll pick up that green paint on the ground as we approach the fence. There it is. There's that green paint. And then as we look through the fence, you'll be able to see the survey markings, the line work that's happening out there. Same thing that we saw on Disneyland Drive. White, red, yellow, blue, all of that, indicating that there's, be aware. While it's here, though, I think these are the actual line walkers, guys. These are the guys that are doing it. They're painting that stuff. Because I think some of this paint that I've seen out here, it looks new. And I think those guys are doing that actual stuff. Talk about signals. It's happening. It's happening right now as we speak. And that bridge, that's what this is for. They're going to build a bridge to cross right there on Harbor Boulevard and into Disneyland. Last week we mentioned that, or we saw some video, the Fresh Baked Street team had captured some video of work being done. This week we have more. This is from Chevy Burns. This is on our app, freshbakepresents.com. We have an app where you can share and talk about all of this stuff and more, whatever you want to talk about on our app. There's a link in the description. It's a web-based app, not a downloadable app that you can get from the App Store or something like that. Not yet anyway. We're getting there. But this is a photo provided by Chevy Burns. And yeah, this is, okay, so I'm trying to place this. This is the crosswalk. They're literally on the crosswalk from going into, as you head into Disneyland, as you head into Bag Check on Harbor Boulevard. I have no idea what they're doing, but that's, it's what we've been talking about. It's happening overnight while we sleep, which is why we haven't seen anything happening during the day when we walk this street, which I haven't been able to walk because I've been going the other direction. But there he goes. Work is happening on this. And this is all, by the way, what this is for is to create more power, more energy for the Avatar expansion. They have to beef up the available power available to the park so that they can build Avatar. On my way, this is that harbor entrance, what we're talking about, looking to the right like this, that's going to be the entrance, the new bridge. I haven't seen any new paint out here. I've been looking, no new paint out there. By the way, we did stop on Harbor Boulevard to check out what's happening backstage at Avengers Infinity Defense, and as has been the case of late, not a lot of visible, observable stuff happening on this building. They're still just doing the infrastructure, but there's a lot of crew out there. Saw a lot of guys doing a lot of stuff, so they're very, very busy, which I mean, that's why I say they kind of picked up the pace. That guy was just dragging something. I don't know what that was. But the pace has once again picked up. It had been slow, but I'm seeing a sort of increase in activity. Nothing happening, though, on that far. I haven't seen anything happen on that far right side for a couple of months now, it seems like. Down on the ground at Luigi's, this is where we saw this. Okay, so there's... Why do I feel like that was there before? In any case, this is where, this is where we saw what looked like to be final actual vertical construction happening, but we can't see anything from the ground. I can hear it though. There was a lot of whooping and hollering, so I wanted to walk up. But no gap. I looked for a gap. No gap to be seen. We'll go around to Avengers Campus, where by the time we got there, all that activity stopped. Everybody's on lunch, so we didn't get to see any action happening, but there's that truss system once more. This is a view from that little raised sitting area. And so I had asked last week what those holes in that steel meant. Like, what's the purpose of that? And I got a very unexpected but logical answer. I guess it's to keep the weight down. A couple people have suggested that's so that it's not, you minimize some of the weight so that it doesn't, I guess, it gets too heavy, I suppose, which makes sense, I guess. I didn't know that was a problem, but yeah, so that's a usual or a typical means to keep the weight down while still maintaining the structural integrity of the steel to help support whatever it is that it's there to support. Okay, let's get into the park. Let's get into Disneyland, where actually, as I record this right now, They're getting ready to have their first performance of Candlelight Procession. This is the setup. I love this every year. I wish I could take this in more. I guess I wish guests could enjoy this more because it's quite lovely. These scenes of the Candlelight Procession, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But alas, it's very difficult for casual guests, standby guests to see this. You have to be super, super committed to the process, which one of these days I'll explain. But you can't do this casually. We're getting into the park, and I noticed, first of all, super packed in the park. I noticed this huge queue at the Jolly Holiday on coming in, and actually it was worse than this. By the time I came back and shot the B-roll, it had actually gotten lower, and I was thinking to myself, why don't these people get mobile order? So I looked it up. I was going to do a demo. of how to do the mobile order refresh, right? And I looked it up, and there wasn't one. It wasn't. Jolly Holiday was not on the available. And so I scrolled down. I'm like, what's going on? And sure enough, Jolly Holiday, no mobile orders available. Incredible. And then I kept trying. I kept working at it. And I did eventually get, you could actually get a return time. And this one is for 10:30. You guys, they were literally sold out. That was not a mistake. That was not a glitch. They were literally sold out of return times at the Jolly Holiday for the entire day. You can see the time at 11:13 in the morning. My next available, and I had to work to get that 10:30. I had to work to get that. I booked one, and I tried to see if I could, do my thing. So I got one for 10:30, and immediately I was able to get it down to 9:25 p.m. And I felt pretty good about that. I'm like, wouldn't that be wild if I could actually spam this thing down to something like around noon or so? And I thought that would be a total triumph. But alas, I have finally met my match, the mobile order refresh hack. You can see actually as I'm scanning through here, there are intervals where there aren't any. I'm at 9:25 and that's a sold out. That's sold out. And that's sold out. There we go. Now a 10:05 has popped up. So I've often said it doesn't matter how far into the future it is. You can work it down to something that you can do relatively close to like right now or even now. But this I could not. I was there for a little while. I don't know how long I did this. I mean, it was a concerted effort, but I couldn't ever do any better than 9:25 p.m. That's how busy it was at Disneyland on this Friday afternoon. And I noted this last week as well. It's the food. It's the dining locations that are hurting the most. The queues, they're busy, but they're not like, it's not madness. The madness is in getting a mobile order reservation or waiting in standby. That Jolly Holiday standby queue was at least 45 minutes to an hour is my guess. Jungle Cruise heading into Adventureland. Jungle Cruise is open here. It's very busy. You can see the queue out there. It's not on the refurb calendar, so we can't report on it in that sense, but Disney let it slip. They let it slip in the announcement for that 70 Years of Memories After Dark event. Somebody caught this in the fine print, which I didn't see. The Jungle Cruise and the monorail will be closed for refurbishment during the event. So whatever couple days that is happening, and that would be 70 Years of Favorites, that's March 3rd and March 5th. So around that time, we should expect Jungle Cruise and the monorail to be down for refurb. We don't know the exact dates yet because they haven't shown up on the refurb calendar. This is the second week in a row that I've come through here on a Friday and Indiana Jones has been closed. It's not closed because of refurb. It's closed because it's broke down again. We'll go check in on a few more odds and ends. Adventureland, the buckets are still not working at the Adventureland Treehouse. Look how great, though, Ray's Berets looks. Look how good this looks. It has survived. I think we're fully, into a healthy situation here. Look how green it is, how lush. Everything has been very saturated this winter, I've noticed. It's been wonderful. Look at, what are those flowers up there that are blooming out of that? That was the clover leaf before, and now flowers are blooming out of there. Isn't this delightful? Finally, you got to give them credit. Like, we're so impatient sometimes, and I'm as subject to that as anybody else. we want it to be perfect right now. We don't have the patience to let them work it out and let things take, their natural course. Nature is never in a hurry, you guys. Nature is never in a hurry, but it all gets done. There's some quote, I know I read this somehow, maybe that's the one of my favorite quotes ever about nature not being in a hurry, but everything gets done. It all gets done in its own time and the way it should, and this looks great. Front side and back. Even the back side, there's some choppy spots, brown spots on the left side, but it's very full, very lush, to the point where they're going to have to get a weed whacker out here at some point. Take care of this. Very happy for Raised Berets. Yeah, man, I think we can officially close out Raised Berets on the construction update list. There's no need to go back there. That is a fully alive, fully vital patch of grass up on the roof on both sides, left, right, back, and front. Looks great. Let's go to Fantasyland. Fantasyland Theater. We have our answer. It's kind of old news at this point, but we talked about it on Fresh Baked Presents. But there was that. Remember that casting call for a new show with people who could do ad lib humor while playing an instrument? I thought initially it was gonna be for Fantasyland Theater, and then I thought maybe it was for Golden Horseshoe, and then I was like, no, I think it's Fantasyland Theater. Well, it is Fantasyland Theater. It's Bluey. Bluey is coming to the Fantasyland Theater. This is coming to in March, I want to say. I think it's March. Yes, March 22nd, according to that 2026 calendar. We don't know anything about the show, but Bluey is coming to Fantasyland. No water in Fantasyland, apparently, or at least not at the Matterhorn. This waterfall is still off. By the way, the attraction was closed while we're here. And so too is the rear waterfall. Why do I not have video of that? I only have the front one. Both waterfalls are still off. We'll get back out to downtown Disney to wrap things up. That's the backside view of the future Earl of Sandwich building. I couldn't catch any actual construction happening, although it definitely is. There's definitely the sound of work going on there. So this is back on schedule, or back on track as well. I don't know if it's on schedule, but at least it's back in action. Over the ESPN zone, quite a bit of progress has been made here. You can't see it from here, and it's difficult again to see through the lens because of the change in light. But I can see there's lots of light fixtures installed inside, and it looks like the build out is mostly complete. It's hard to tell because we don't get a very good look, but it looks like a lot of the build out is done. I've even heard somebody mentioned in comments that the hiring has already taken place, and they're probably going to be opening soon, like before the new year. So we're further along here than we thought. As a matter of fact, I shot this footage on Friday, and since then, on that same day, after I left, I got this photo from the Fresh Baked Street team. This is from Belanger's. They've installed the sign, and the lights are on. You can see that there's no more exposed, build out inside. At least that. So it's built, but they just haven't installed like the store interiors, etc. Perhaps, but it looks like the build out is done inside, and you've got the sign out there. So this all happened within a few hours after I left the park to get these shots, that picture and my footage on the same day, which is pretty wild. Thank you again to the Fresh Baked Street team for that. And as a reminder, for those of you who are still trying to eat Earl of Sandwich, the portable building is still out here. You can get an Earl Sandwich back here next to what the future Lululemon site, if you are a fan of Earl's. We'll say good morning to the Parkside Market Cafe. I don't know why I'm rooting for you. I just am. Starbucks, they're doing fine. They don't need any more guests. I want Parkside Market Cafe to succeed. So there's 3 guests getting coffee, and there's at least 3 or 4 there waiting for their coffee. Lego store. This is progressing now. Finally, we've got movement. We saw them building where they put in some Legos. There's actually some Legos out there. And you can see also that they are building, part of those new Legos is they're building a background. They're building Maleficent. That's the castle from Sleeping Beauty, and the big battle between the Maleficent dragon and Prince, what's his name? So they're heightening that scene. This is the first time I've noticed, though, and I don't know if this is just this week or if I haven't looked back at my old footage, but the fire's gone. There should be fire coming out. I mean, they need to take it out. They need to take the fire out in order to put in the castle, I would assume. But yeah, fire's not there. The Maleficent dragon, the green flame. Anyway, just an observation. Also observing that nothing is happening yet at Tortilla Joe's. The Earl's is back online a little bit, but Tortilla Joe's is still stuck. And that is our tour of both parks, all the construction happening around the Disney Resort right now. Let's take a look at what's on the calendar, the refurb schedule. Grizzly River Run, as we mentioned last week, January 5th. It's closing, no known date. Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind, closing on January 5th. Also don't know its reopening date, though I don't expect that to be long. Incredicoaster is closed, or is closing for refurb on January 5th. Lamplight Lounge, that's interesting. That's closing a week later on January 12th. No known date for that as well. I don't know what they're up to. It's both the boardwalk dining and the actual lounge, so the whole thing is closing. Meanwhile, over at Disneyland, we have 2 new entries to the refurb calendar in January. Mark Twain is going down on January 12th also. Routine maintenance, I'm sure. And then the Haunted Mansion is closing on January 12th. That is to return Haunted Mansion back to its, original status after the Nightmare overlay. And there you go, guys. That's our show. That's our update this week. Thank you guys for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.